Right. Oh, we've got a newcomer. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Vanessa Gempis. I'm the manager of the Teen Center at the at the Central Library. And thank you so much for joining us today for our scholarships webinar. Our partners at Calico's Credit Union have brought on Ventrice Shanklin from Sally Mae to talk about how to find scholarships and write that winning scholarship essay. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat. And since we are recording today's session, we do ask that you keep your camera off and your mic muted. We will send out the recording after it's been processed and uploaded and all of that good stuff. And now, without further ado, Ms. Ventrice Shanklin with College Scholarships.
Thanks, Vanessa. I appreciate it. Great intro. I'm going to turn off my camera as well, so I'm not a distraction. But my name is Ventrice Shanklin again, and I work for an organization called Sally Mae. And if you're not familiar with Sally Mae, we are a savings, planning, and paying for college organization. And like Vanessa said, any questions that you have, please, you can post them in the chat. And I love questions. I'll also prompt you with questions so we can make this interactive. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera. And we will go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about scholarships, finding free money for college. And I probably should change this slide at some point because not everyone goes to a traditional college. I know my son's an electrician, so he didn't go to a four-year university, but he did get an education. So I'll have to look into changing that at some point. Today we're going to talk about college costs and how scholarships can help you cover those college costs. And there's a variety of different scholarship resources that I'll share with you. We also want to touch on how to find scholarships, so scholarship search engines and how easy they are to navigate. We'll also learn about creating a scholarship essay. And then lastly, I'll share some tips on applying for scholarships. Let's start with college costs and how scholarships can help offset some of those costs. So as we know, most colleges charge to go to school. And slide is a little busy here, but you'll get the gist of it once I explain. So if you look at that first line, that public two-year university or community, it's really a community college. You can see what the tuition and fees are. So that's in the dark blue. Room and board, whether you live on campus or off campus. Most community colleges don't have on-campus room or housing. So they still give you an allowance for off-campus housing. You have to pay, rent or mortgage somewhere. And then there's books and supplies, which some schools added to the tuition costs. Community colleges usually have it as a separate line item. There's also transportation, however you decide to get back and forth to school. And then there could be other expenses like health care or health expenses, parking. Schools have a plethora of fees. So just want to keep that in mind as well. And they can just look down the list depending on what type of institution you decide to go to or what type of school. And the cost could vary depending on the type of school. The cost of college includes a combination of what we call direct costs and indirect costs. So direct costs are those paid directly to the school. So that's tuition and fees, housing sometimes. And then indirect costs include other relevant expenses such as room and board, books and supplies, transportation. You have to eat, so food is considered a cost, an indirect cost as well. These are just some high-level statistics on scholarships. And what this is saying is there is free money out there to be had. All you have to do is apply for it. And there are people who do get scholarships to pay for college. I won't read each of these to you, but you can see a good number of students have either gotten a scholarship from an outside agency or from the school or college itself. Has anyone ever heard of the FAFSA form? answer in the chat. If you can tell me what FAFSA stands for, then you get an extra kudo. Anybody? And hopefully they talked about it at your school. Nobody's brave enough. I'll go ahead and tell you the FAFSA form is the free application for federal student aid. So when you're applying for any federal financial aid, any state financial aid, so California, or any financial aid that's associated with the school you're going to attend, they will have you complete a free application for federal student aid, and it's free to complete. The one thing you do have to remember is that you can complete it October 1st of your senior year in high school, and then you'll complete it every year thereafter. And this sheet here tells you that. So October 1st is when the form opens. If you're a senior, and you can only complete it if you're a senior in high school and after that. And then it opens on October 1st, and it's for any financial aid that you want to receive. So federal student loans, state grants. A grant is money that does not have to be repaid. So just keep that in mind. You'll hear some people say FAFSA quite a bit as you're going through school, depending on what year in school you are. This is just a high-level slide on how schools determine how much financial aid they're going to give to a student. So they take the cost of attendance, and then when you complete that free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA, it produces what's called an expected family contribution, which is sent to each school that you list on the FAFSA. You can list up to 10 schools on that form. And then they also send information, this information comes from the Department of Education to the California Student Aid Commission, who manages the California Grant Program. So the expected family contribution is just a measure of your family's financial strength or their financial picture. And it's calculated by some formula. I've been in this business for 30 years and have never been able to figure out the formula. And what it does, it shows your family's ability to pay, or their financial strength. So what the school does is they take that cost of attendance, they subtract the expected family contribution, and that's how they come up with your financial need, or how much financial aid they're willing to give to a student. Now we're going to dive into scholarships, because that's really what we came here to talk about. I just wanted to make sure that you kept that FAFSA information in the back of your mind, because some schools do require students to complete that form before they will give out any scholarship dollars, and that's from the institution itself. So what are scholarships? So scholarships are free money that do not have to be paid back. So you don't have to take out a loan. Somebody gives you free money in a scholarship, you do not have to pay it back. Keep in mind that some scholarships can cover the entire cost of tuition, or it could be a one-time award of a few $100s. Either way, I can tell you it's worth applying for, because it'll help reduce your costs. When should you apply for scholarships? So each scholarship has its own unique requirement and deadline. It'll tell you who qualifies and how to apply. Some deadlines are as early as the year before college starts. So seniors and juniors in high school can start researching and applying for scholarships. And then there's some scholarships out there for freshmen and sophomore students. It just depends on where you are in school and who that scholarship provider is. If you're a freshman or sophomore, some scholarship providers, will hold the scholarship until you get to college. Scholarship deadlines are really all over the place. You may see deadlines, or you may see some that have no deadline, and we call those rolling awards. And that's usually until the scholarship provider finds the right recipient for that award. So each scholarship, again, will have its own requirements. Some will require an essay or some other type of submission that can showcase your talents or skills or hobbies, or even if you've done community service. They may ask for a video, a recording. Oftentimes they'll ask for letters of recommendation. And a couple more slides, I'll show you the Sallie Mae Scholarship Search Tool and a couple other ones, just so you can see what they look like. Why start your scholarship search early? It's important to start early, as some scholarships may have deadlines a year out from when the dollars are released. And some scholarship organizations will send the funds directly to the school, and then some send them directly to you. So that information should be in their application or disclosures. Before starting the scholarship search, you can prepare for your scholarship search earlier in your high school years or even in middle school. So when my kids were in middle school, even though I knew that they were probably not going to be awarded a scholarship just because the year in school they were, I had them go on just to see what types of questions are asked, if there's essays required, and what's asked on the application. So even if you're a younger student, you might want to do some research ahead of time just to know what's up ahead. Keep your academic grades up, because some scholarships will be based on academics and possibly your GPA. Participate in volunteer activities to add to your scholarship application. That's always helpful if you're working or community service. That helps a lot in your application. Are you part of any extracurricular activities or clubs or sports? Do you have a part-time job to add to those college savings? So that's important as well. Organizations with which you have completed community service, volunteer work, or participated in athletically or academically, you can always add that information to your essay, your college essay, or the scholarship application. How to get going on the scholarship search. High school counselors are a great asset. They normally have a list of scholarships or scholarship organizations that they work with. So you want to check with your high school counselor. Access to scholarship resources and tools that can provide guidance on scholarship essays is really important. I helped a young lady a couple years ago fill out some scholarship applications, and she was sending emails to some of her teachers for a letter of recommendation. And this poor girl, she put her whole email in the subject line because she didn't know how to write an email. So it's just very important. Ask for help if you need help, and which she did. I helped her through that. And then free scholarship searches, they aggregate scholarships. So you'll find looking online is a good start, because it's a lot easier because there's a lot of scholarships in some of these search tools. So scholarships may be awarded for a variety of reasons. It can be academic achievement, sports, ethnicity. I've seen scholarships in some of these tools for people with red hair, left-handed people. My daughter got a scholarship when she was in college because she was a vegetarian. There was an organization who gave her $3,000 because she wrote an essay on why she wanted to save the planet. So there's money out there to be had. You just have to do a little bit of work for it. Here's some scholarship resources. While the greatest number of scholarships are offered directly through the colleges and universities, there are many private scholarships available to students. There's thousands of them offered by schools. You can check with your parent's employer. If you're employed, you can check with your employer. Individuals, private companies, nonprofit organizations. The church I go to gives out scholarships every single year to students who attend that church. And then you can ask friends and family if they have any connection to any organizations that provide scholarships for students. Scholarship search engines are an easy way to start that search. So you're probably wondering what I'm talking about. So let's talk about it. Here's just a few. Sallie Mae is the organization I work for, and there's a scholarship search tool. You can see the URL there. FastWeb is another one. And then the College Board has a scholarship search tool called Big Future. So like I said, those are a good start. It's one place you can go to find many scholarships. A few important hints about using these engines is that you should keep your profile up to date, and I'll show you that in just a second. So you're going to build a profile, ask about 10 or 12 questions, what your GPA is. I'm just giving you examples. It may or may not ask that depending on which one you go in. It'll ask where you live, what year you are in school, your ethnicity. So it can match you with scholarships that you can apply for. So it tries to do its best match, what major you're in or you think you want to pursue. So look for search engines that offer free searches. Free, you see it's capitalized. There are some scholarship organizations, none on the previous page, that will charge a fee for a scholarship. Well, if a scholarship is free, you shouldn't have to pay a fee. That did rhyme, didn't it? But I want you to just be aware of those types of scams, because some organizations will try to charge you for a scholarship when you do not have to pay for one. It is free money. Another thing on here is ratings of scholarships as well. So you want to make sure that, it's a reputable type scholarship search engine. And I listed the bigger ones on the previous page. The ability to save the profile information. So if I fill out my profile, I'll show it to you here. This is the Sallie Mae Scholarship Search Tool. This is just a few questions. So it'll ask you what year you are in school, your state of residence, because there could be state specific scholarships. Are you a citizen? Are you not a citizen? 22% of the scholarships within this particular tool, the Sallie Mae Scholarship Search Tool, do not require citizenship. So if you're not a citizen, there's scholarships in here that may meet your requirements as well, or your needs as well. It'll ask your gender, ethnicity. It'll ask about your academics and activities, so it can better match you with the scholarships you can apply for. And then when you get in school, say you want to be an engineer, and then you get in school and say, no, I want to change my major to something else. You'd go back into the profile, you change your major inside the profile, and then it'll match you with new scholarships. This is what it looks like when you get your output. So you just click on the hyperlink. This is not live, so I can't do it, but click on the hyperlink and it'll tell you exactly what the criteria is for each scholarship. So you can see in this first one, there's no essay required. So it's filling out an application, and there's probably, this company probably has a few scholarships available, and they'll award those accordingly. And I always tell students, don't focus on the amount of the scholarship. Some students will go immediately to the one that's, $10,000, but just think, if you receive $200, $100 scholarships and you spend about 10 hours searching, that equates to about $20 an hour. So it's more than you could make at a, part-time job. So, look at the ones that are smaller. It's normally the company will have more of those than they will the large ones. And some of these are national scholarships. So you have students competing all over the place. I'll stop there to see if there are any questions. Vanessa or Josh, do you see any questions in the chat, or does anyone want to ask a question?
Not seeing any questions so far, but don't be shy, y'all. We are happy to answer, and by we, I mean Ventrice, are happy to answer any questions that you have.
That's right. And I can't see you, so you don't have to be nervous. You can just ask your question. So after you've been matched with some possible scholarships, so we saw the matches on the previous slide, you'll need to do a little work to apply. Each application will have its own criteria, and many require some form of a scholarship essay. So hopefully that doesn't make you nervous. Then I have some tips on just how to get started and how to focus on the right things in your essay. So some of the things you want to make sure you do when you're writing a scholarship essay is to start the process early. Understand the provider's overall mission and purpose. Follow the instructions. Create an outline to organize your thoughts. Don't be afraid to get personal. Scholarship providers love personal stories. Ask for advice and feedback. Neatness and grammar, spelling, they do matter. So I would proofread my essay or have someone else proofread it to make sure there's no errors, and then be persistent. I told my kids when they were in school that since you don't have a job, looking for scholarships or free money is your full-time job. I met a young lady when I was working on my graduate degree. I did my paper on undocumented students in higher education, and she paid for all 4 years of college with just scholarships. She had to take out no loans at all. She didn't have to borrow any money from her parents. She said she made it her full-time job just to look for free money. So hopefully you guys can do that as well, even if it's only a couple hours a day. A good scholarship essay is original and honest, one that shows somebody's background, experiences, your ambitions, your personality, and it's really an opportunity to make a strong and lasting impression. So be original and genuine. You should choose a topic that you truly enjoy or you're passionate about. And don't be afraid to say why you deserve the scholarship. There's no reason why you can't say that in your essay. Don't put too much information that's not really related to the topic or the scholarship into the essay, and just stick with a simple story and message. And one thing to remember is don't just say what was done or make a list of accomplishments, but instead really talk about what you learned and how it helped others and your overall experience. Being positive is one of the keys that I can't express enough. Leave yourself plenty of time to produce a well thought out essay. So you want to make sure that you have an introduction, basic and short, just tell who you are. The body of the essay, how you are currently planning to pay for an education. Your conclusion, why do you deserve this scholarship and how will you benefit? And then I just put, Sallie Mae has a blog site that has some tips on writing a scholarship essay or applying for scholarships, and you may want to check that out as well. One thing you can also do, I forgot to put it in here, was you can write one essay and then modify and reuse the essay for other scholarships. So just remember that as well. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, as they say. You can write one essay, and then once you start filling out scholarship applications, you can modify that essay for those scholarships. Here's just a few tips on applying for scholarships. So we'll just summarize here is get organized. You can take an Excel spreadsheet, and once you start applying for scholarships, just keep a list of those scholarships and their deadlines. We talked about being authentic. So just telling someone who you are and why you deserve this scholarship. Know the requirements. So if there's a deadline, just make sure you know that deadline, or if it requires an essay or a video, you understand those requirements. Include strong recommendations. There's no reason you can't ask a school counselor or someone else to write a letter of recommendation. And then create a lasting impression. Again, why do I deserve this scholarship? Tips for scholarship application success is meet the deadlines. which is very important. I've said that a couple times. List important accomplishments first. Showcase your honors and awards. There's no harm in talking about yourself. Don't rule out the scholarships, the smaller scholarships. So those $100 scholarships can add up, because if I got 10 of those, and there's a $10,000 one out there that hundreds of people are competing for, I'd rather have my 10 small scholarships. Start applying your junior year. And like I said, there's some scholarships available for freshmen and sophomore students. It's just the organization may hold on to those for you until you get to college. You win a scholarship, now what? How will I get my scholarship dollars or my scholarship money? Remember, I said that some scholarship organizations and their application or their disclosure should tell you whether they send it directly to the college you plan to attend, or they send the money directly to you. So either or. And sometimes students haven't made a decision on the college they want to attend. So the scholarship organization will hold on to it until you figure that out. You just have to communicate with them. How will the scholarship affect your other financial aid? So once you fill out that free application for federal student aid, the school is going to offer you some type of financial aid package. So it could be loans, it could be grants, it could be some type of institutional scholarship that's given out by the school. And if your scholarship that you applied for through one of these search engines or some outside agency, if you get a scholarship, it could reduce the other monies you get. Now you want them to reduce the loans first if you had to take out a loan, because you have to pay that back with interest, and a scholarship is free money. So it could affect your financial aid. Or if the money comes directly to you, then you can manage it how you wish to manage it. And then the last thing I'll say is it's very important to understand the renewal requirements of a scholarship. So if it's, say you got an athletic scholarship from the school, sometimes that requires you to meet a certain academic standard or make the certain GPA, or your grades have to be, 3.0 or higher, or whatever that criteria is. You want to understand that, because that's going to change your financial picture. If the scholarship is renewable and you didn't meet the requirement, then they're going to give that money to someone else. So just understand that those types of requirements. Sallie Mae has a Paying for College resource, which can give you more information on topics such as scholarships, the free application for federal student aid, understanding a financial aid offer, which comes from a college or a university. Also, there's information on there. I was trying to remember what else is on there. Student loans, different types of grants. There's no state specific grant information, but it'll tell you generally what a grant is. Like I said before, that's money that does not have to be repaid. I would start by going to salliemae.com/scholarships just to see what kind of information is asked. Fill out a profile. It doesn't obligate you to anything. And then you can see what types of scholarships that you could be matched with. Oh, Vanessa, we are to the end.
All right, we have one question that came in earlier from one of our attendees. They say that they're a non-citizen, but will get a social security card soon by getting a green card. Can they apply for a scholarship under the US citizen category?
Absolutely. So what you'll do when you go back into the profile, and excuse me, I'll go back to that screen. Oops, sorry. You will, where it has citizenship right here, it's a drop down box. So you'll choose non-citizen, and it will match you with scholarships that do not have a citizenship requirement. So that's how I would do that, because if you choose citizen when you're not, then there's going to be some other they may ask you to supply information that you don't have. So I would be honest and just say, I'm not a citizen at this time, and it'll match you with scholarships that you can apply for.
All right, do we have any other questions? Going once, going twice. And if you're typing now, feel free to unmute and just ask the question out loud. All right, otherwise, Ventrice, if they have questions that come up later, would they be able to contact you?
Absolutely. Sorry about that. That was my fault for not putting my information there. Yes, feel free. My phone number is below, as well as my email address, if you feel more comfortable doing that. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Okay, so it looks like we don't have any other questions coming in. Thank you so much, Ventrice, for this presentation. And thank you guys for coming in. We will be sending out this recording. Yeah, feel free to reach out for any other scholarship questions to Ventrice, not to me, because I'm the expert.
And if you have other questions about just the college going process outside of scholarships, feel free to send me an email or give me a phone call. And if I can't answer the question, I will research it and I will get back to you.
And don't forget to check out some of our past financial literacy month webinars. Those are on YouTube. We will send those in an email when we send out the presentation. So thank you again. Y'all have a nice day.
Thank you.